A young child with white hair and red eyes gets attacked by another. However, his powers redirect the attack, causing the other child to be thrown back. The child is later attacked by grown men, but no matter how much they try, his powers reflect them back and injures them. Here, the child knows that nothing they can do will hurt him. He is invincible. He is the strongest Esper in Academy City. That child was the Accelerator. Many years later, a slender-looking white-haired boy is seen walking out of a convenience store carrying his groceries. Meanwhile, the girl who looks suspiciously like Misaka Mikoto is seen on top of a rooftop. The girl is holding a mounted sniper rifle, positioned to fire down the streets below. She adjusts the scope of the gun to accommodate the change in the weather conditions. The target is the white-haired boy. She confirms the target's name, Accelerator. She fires the gun several times, seemingly accurate. The bullet should hit Accelerator, however. In a flash, the bullet returns to its bearer, destroying the gun and hitting the girl. She is severely injured. Frantically, she staggers to run away, apparently afraid of something. She runs into the alleys and sees the object of her terror. There, awaiting her with a smile, the white-haired boy that should have been killed but still alive. It is daytime. Toma, a level 0 Esper, is walking to school to attend his makeup classes. Toma stops at a certain vending machine, apparently parched for a beverage. Toma has no change. As such, he uses a full 2,000 yen bill on the machine. He inserts the bill and presses a button. However, no beverage would come out. He coerces the machine to give him something, but nothing would come out. Because of this, Toma utters a familiar phrase. His predicament is interrupted by Mikoto, a level 5 Esper, who pushes him out of the way. Surprised at the arrival of the young rude girl, he asks to himself who she is. In an instant, Mikoto spins around and kicks the vending machine on its side, exposing her shorts to Toma. Predictably, the machine spits out a beverage. Mikoto then says that he can get the money back to him and demonstrates this by sending an electric current into the machine. However, the machine instead spits out several varieties of canned beverages. Knowing what would happen, Toma runs away while the vending machine alarm sounds. Toma rests on a bench when Mikoto comes up to him with the beverages she pilfered from the vending machine. Their conversation is interrupted by the appearance of Kuroko. Kuroko introduces herself to Toma and tells her that she is Mikoto's herald, and that Toma should check with her if he intends to hit on Mikoto. This irritates Mikoto so much that she releases her electric powers on Kuroko. Immediately after that, Toma hears another girl. He turns around to see a girl who has the same face and clothes as Mikoto. She says that she is Mikoto's sister, while describing on how she says her sentence. He asks the sister why she is referring to herself as Misaka. The sister tells Toma that her name is Misaka without delay. However, Mikoto suddenly yells at her, asking what she is doing here. The Misaka sister tells Mikoto that she is here for research, and as such, Mikoto calms down and asks her sister to come with her for a while despite her protests. Later, Toma meets Mikoto during the afternoon. Here she is seen staring towards the horizon, seemingly deep in thought. Toma greets her, to which Mikoto acknowledges him with an unfazed expression on her face. Toma walks on and encounters Mikoto's sister again, this time trying to feed a black cat inside a cardboard box. Toma takes the cat with him. Toma and the sister arrive at a bookstore where Toma wants to buy a reference book for cats. Suddenly, a chill runs down her spine and we see Accelerator behind her. She lays down the feline and faces him. Gunshots can be heard in an alleyway. A sister falls down due to a powerful force. In the shadows of the alleyways runs Mikoto's sister. She is breathing heavily while carrying a gun and wearing her goggles. Suddenly, a voice is heard speaking. It is the voice of her tormentor, Accelerator. He asks her why she is running and taunts her on how she is flashing herself to him. Mikoto's sister stops and fires several bullets towards him, seemingly hitting Accelerator. Suddenly, the bullets fly back towards her, and one of them hits her right shoulder. Accelerator is still alive, unharmed. He leans forward. However, the girl fires her gun to his face. Strangely, the bullets stop in midair and is redirected to her. Thinking quickly, she shields herself with her gun and throws it towards him immediately after. She runs away, putting a little distance between her and Accelerator. She attacks him with her electric powers. However, it does not work, and Mikoto's sister gets electrocuted by her own powers. Even in pain, she realizes what Accelerator's powers is: reflection. Accelerator quickly says that she is incorrect and that his power is vector change. He enumerates a list of things that he can control and tells her that anything that has vectors can be changed by him with a touch, and states that his power is set to reflect by default. Accelerator leans down and touches the open wound of Mikoto's sister. Accelerator tells her that he is now touching her blood and asks her quizzically on what would happen to the human body if the direction of the blood flow is reversed. He smiles widely and tells her that if she answers correctly, she will be given a peaceful rest, to her horror. Meanwhile, Toma finally comes out of the bookstore wondering where Mikoto's sister is. While wondering where she is, Toma feels an eerie foreboding in a certain alleyway. Toma investigates the alleyway due to this feeling. There, in the darkness, he finds a lone bloody shoe. He keeps on walking under the color of darkness, and there in his sight lies a girl he was looking for, the girl he was just talking to a while earlier. That girl was in her own pool of blood. That girl is Mikoto's sister. Toma is completely horrified by what he has seen. He steps back a few times, seemingly unable to take in what has occurred. The scene cuts to several anti-skilled members guarding a certain location away from bystanders. We see Toma sitting on the ground in despair, still with the cat that he had left with the girl that has now died. One of the anti-skill members approaches him and asks if Toma could come with them to the scene of the crime. Toma obliges and escorts two anti-skill members to the scene of the crime. They finally reach the supposed scene of the crime, but to Toma's bewilderment, not a drop of blood can be found. Confused as to what happened, he runs towards the spot where he saw Mikoto's sister lying in her own blood. However, they find nothing. Suddenly, the cat notices something. Toma feels something off as well and runs toward this feeling, leaving the anti-skills behind. He traverses a considerable distance and in the distance sees in the darkness the familiar glow of Mikoto's sister's goggles. Toma stops and looks at the person before confirming that she is truly alive, who at the moment is carrying a rather large bag, big enough to fit a person inside. Toma is stunned and asks how it is possible that she is still alive. However, the sister corrects him, stating that she has truly died. Shocked by her statement, Toma asks what she is carrying in the bag. The sister doesn't answer him, but demands Toma to decode a series of letters and numbers, seemingly a password. Toma does not what is happening, and as such the sister tells him that Toma is not part of the experiment. Toma tries to figure out the contents of her bag, however, he suddenly hears a familiar voice from behind her. She looks like Mikoto and the girl that is standing before Toma, which surprises. This girl talks of sisters, and another similar-looking girl talks on how she is apologizing for leaving the cat behind. Another one appears and says that the reason for her actions is because she did not want to involve an animal in their conflict. Another one appears apologizing for worrying him. Another one appears and another one, the Mikoto's sister that was carrying the bag, tells Toma that every one of them is Misaka. She calls herself Misaka 10,032 and tells Toma that she was the one Toma was interacting with all this time. She explains to Toma on how they use their electric abilities to link their similar brainwaves together so they can share their memories. Toma asks who she is, which she replies that they are mass-produced clones for military use that were created from the DNA map of the 3rd level 5 of Academy City, Misaka Mikoto. She calls themselves sisters. Toma asks what they are doing, to which she replies that they are simply doing an experiment, though she is not allowed to explain the details of it. Having finished their business, the clones leave one by one, with Misaka 10,032 asking Toma to take care of the cat for her. Toma is currently riding on a bus heading for the Tokuwada Middle School dormitory. Toma steps out of the bus and heads into the Tokuwada Middle School dormitory. Toma discovers that Mikoto resides in room 208 and decides to use the panel to contact her. The voice tells Toma that she is her Onisama's roommate and not to worry about bothering her. She asks Toma what he wants with Mikoto, and with Toma replying that it is not something major. The voice says that Mikoto has not come home yet, but he is allowed to wait inside their room. Toma comes in and discovers that the voice belongs to the girl she met earlier, Kuroko. Kuroko allows Toma to sit on her bed instead of standing, to which Toma asks what she is doing on Mikoto's bed and asks if she is a pervert. Suddenly, footsteps can be heard from the hallway outside. Toma thinks it's Mikoto, however, Kuroko knows who it is, the Tokuwada dorm supervisor. Kuroko becomes worried of having her find out that Toma is inside their room. With no choice left, Kuroko touches Toma's shoulder and tries to teleport him outside. However, she discovers that her power does not work on him. Toma tries to explain that it is because of his right hand, which Kuroko grabs and forces his body under Mikoto's bed to hide him while Kuroko go deal with the supervisor. Under the bed, Toma discovers documents stuffed inside Mikoto's giant stuffed bear doll, Kurugumar. Here, he discovers that the document he acquired contains important information on the sisters. Toma reads that the tree diagram calculated that only Accelerator, the strongest level 5 of Academy City, can attain level 6. By preparing battlefields and fighting according to scenario, Accelerator's growth into a level 6 will be stimulated by the battlefield. Toma turns a page and discovers a map on it, discovering several crossed-out points on it. This is wrong, Toma said to himself as he runs through the streets of Academy Cities. He is searching for one girl alone, Misaka Mikoto, as she is the key to the madness that is occurring with her sisters. He sees that the propellers of the wind turbines are moving even though there are no winds tonight. Toma concludes that following the turbines will lead to her to Mikoto, a level 5 electromaster who produces electrical energy every second. On a bridge, somewhere stands Misaka Mikoto leaning on the railings looking into the distance. She asks herself why things end up like this now. We see a flashback of a young Mikoto being awed on how she can produce electricity. The scene cuts to Mikoto inside a facility, somewhere being asked by a doctor if she was the famous Misaka Mikoto. The young Mikoto turns around as if confirming her identity to him. The doctor continues by saying that there are many handicapped people in pain who can't even move their own limbs. The doctor tells her that if they had the power to control the electricity within their bodies, they might be able to provide those people with hope. The nurse that was with the doctor says that they would be able to save a lot of people if they were to apply her powers on them. The scene cuts to a group of girls gossiping about a rumor about military clones being produced in Academy City, where they're using a certain level 5's DNA as a base. The gossip continues until the girls see Mikoto, where they then moved away, though to Mikoto the rumors seemed ridiculous. The scene returns to the present. We see Mikoto still leaning on the rails, occasionally emitting electricity. Another flashback occurs, several sisters appearing before Mikoto. The scene cuts back to Mikoto again, where she mutters help. The scene cuts again to several sisters dead and lying on a pool of blood, and then to Accelerator smiling. Suddenly, a black cat walks into the scene, letting out a soft mew. Sounds of footsteps can be heard. It is Toma's. Mikoto is visibly surprised by his arrival. Toma simply says to stop it, to which Mikoto asks to stop what exactly. Here, Toma cites a sentence from the document he got out of Mikoto's stuffed bear regarding on how Tree Diagram predicted the ascension of Accelerator to level 6 by preparing 128 battlefields and killing Mikoto 128 times. However, since it is impossible to prepare 128 railguns, Mikoto, Academy City used the radio noise project that was progressing in parallel as a substitute for railgun, by using 20,000 battlefields and killing 20,000 clones of Mikoto, and then the same results can be achieved. Mikoto says to Toma that whatever that he is suspecting is probably correct, and says that the marks on the maps look like shot-down marks of facilities that she has taken down using her powers. Mikoto continues that it was her plan originally. However, no matter how many facilities she had taken down, other facilities take up the project again. Mikoto continues by saying that the city is always under surveillance by the Tree Diagram, which would imply that the experiment is being allowed by the board of directors as well. She states that since the centerpiece of the experiment involves making Accelerator stronger, then if he was gone, then obviously the experiment will be halted. Toma says that she is lying. He says that she is not powerful enough to defeat Accelerator. Mikoto then says that she'll be going to Accelerator's location now and going to her death. However, she is stopped by Toma, who stands in front of her, blocking the path towards her demise. Mikoto orders Toma to move out of the way, to which Toma replies a single word, no. Even the power of his opponent, Toma, is resolute in not allowing Mikoto to pass through him tonight. Mikoto attacks once again, and this time Toma is engulfed in her power, making him fall. Whilst Toma is on the ground after being hit by Mikoto's attack, she becomes regretful in attacking him. However, Toma stands up once more, determined to not let Mikoto pass him. Mikoto states that she killed more than 10,000 people, and that there is no reason for a villain like her to live in this world. She asks him why he is standing up for a villain like her. However, Toma says that she is not a villain. Filled with anguish, Mikoto lets out her powers, screaming. Only the sound of electricity can be heard on the bridge. In the middle of it stands Misaka Mikoto, who just released one of her most powerful attacks on a certain boy. Suddenly, she notices that he is moving. He is still alive, much to her surprise. The boy Toma struggles to stand up while the obviously shocked Mikoto moves backwards. She lets her hand out as if she was going to attack. However, this time, Mikoto is brought to tears. A young girl wearing the school uniform is walking the streets of Academy City alone during a windless evening. The scene cuts to a seemingly empty railway cargo holding area, where we see the girl walking into the area. She stops and starts reciting her current coordinates as well as the time. The girl calls herself Test Material 10,032, Misaka 10,032. She then recites on how the purpose of the test is to develop maneuvers for battles where reflection cannot be used, Accelerator's reflection. Toma begins to regain his what would happen if Accelerator was to be beaten in a street fight. He states that there is no reason for the experiment to continue if the assumption of Accelerator as the strongest was false. Mikoto says that it's impossible, as she draws from her experience from facing against Accelerator once, that a battle with him wouldn't even be called a match. Mikoto says that even if she was to miraculously defeat, the researchers will simply conclude that it was within the error range, as such won't see Accelerator as weak. Toma stands up and says that he will be the one to fight Accelerator, as he's a level 0. Mikoto protests, saying that it is impossible for him, citing the fact that Accelerator can control all vectors and Toma being heavily injured from Mikoto's attack. However, meanwhile, in the railway cargo holding area, Misaka 10,032 is walking along the railroad until she is called by a familiar voice. She looks up and sees X as his next victim. Before starting the experiment, Misaka 10,032 suggests to Accelerator that to say the password to confirm his participation in the experiment. This irritates Accelerator somewhat, though he simply states that he really doesn't need to confirm anything because it's an experiment that is trying to make him stronger. Accelerator compliments Misaka 10,032 for being calm even though she knows what situation she is in. He then tells her to use her brain, though Misaka 10,032 does not understand and states the current time before the experiment begins. Misaka asks why he wants more power even though he is already the strongest Esper in Academy City, a position where no one can reach him. Accelerator says that the only reason people know that he is the strongest is because people fought him and lost. He says that to her, that kind of strongest is not enough and strives something beyond that, a power that once acquired by him, that challenging him would be a sin. Accelerator jumps off of the container and lands in front of Misaka 10,032. She puts on her. Meanwhile, Toma is hastily trying to get to Accelerator's location, leaving Mikoto and the cat on the bridge. Accelerator charges. Back in the bridge, the cat in Mikoto's arms becomes restless due to her electromagnetic field. She recalls on how Toma instructed her not to interfere in his battle against Accelerator, as it is crucial for him to level 0 to beat Accelerator to level 5. Mikoto understands that she won't be able to do anything if she goes there. However, she runs towards Accelerator's location as she can't just leave things be and do nothing at all. Toma finally arrives outside the railway cargo holding area and hears her explode. Toma survives the dust explosion caused by Accelerator, who is uninjured and comments on how he almost killed himself as the oxygen was used in the dust explosion he caused. Accelerator comments on how Toma should rejoice as he is the first one to have pushed Accelerator into a near-death situation. Toma does not respond and only pulls himself up to confront Accelerator once again. Accelerator gloats on how no matter what Toma does, as he can control any vector he comes in contact with, and with him touching Toma, he can blow up all his veins and organs. He keeps on gloating, saying that Toma still being able to stand and breathe before him is somewhat a miracle, and order Toma stay down already. Accelerator laughs at him and begins to form another more hit. However, someone shouts his name, Accelerator. Mikoto has arrived and is ready to fire her railgun towards him. Meanwhile, Accelerator is losing his control of the ball of plasma and asks himself if he had miscalculated the flow of the winds. Back in the city, several sparks are coming out of the nacelle of the wind turbine. Accelerator realizes that there shouldn't be any miscalculations in his part and discovers that the wind is being produced artificially by directing electric power on the motor of the wind turbines to make spin. Accelerator turns around. Jumping towards Accelerator, he gives one final punch to Accelerator's face, which sends him rolling a few feet away from Toma and before the Mikoto and Misaka 10,032. Toma is seen sleeping in a familiar ward. However, he soon becomes uneasy and wakes up. He looks to see that Misaka 10,032's figure looms before him, holding his hand which is resting upon her breasts. Surprised by this, he asks himself why such a happy event is occurring to him, as he does not remember raising any flags for this moment at all. Misaka 10,032 informs Toma that he was the one that grabbed her, though she said that she was the one who moved his hand towards her breast, as so she can measure his heartbeat and brainwaves using the electric flow in his body, much to Toma's dismay since he cannot feel that he is touching them due to the anesthesia applied on him. Toma says in relief that they somehow both made out of the situation alive, though Misaka 10,032 states that she cannot return to the world as of yet, even though the experiment with Accelerator has been suspended, as her body needs readjustment as she is a clone that was accelerated to growth. Before leaving, Toma says that if Mikoto hadn't given away her DNA map, then the sisters would have never been born. He continues on by saying that even though the experiment was wrong, their birth is something she should be proud of. Mikoto replies by saying that because of her, more than 10,000 of her clones have been killed. The end.